Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. Buenos días a todos. I will speak in Spanish in case anyone needs translation. Muy buenos días. Bueno, yo voy a platicar de
I'm going to
cuatro
speak about four ideas, no, about five ideas in which the OECD is working. These are pieces of different reports and analyses, which I think are very important for the discussions which are being held today. And I hope you think the same. The importance about investing in artificial intelligence. I think that this is disruptive technology. I don't have to convince the people here. And as any disruptive technology, it has a lot of benefits, but it also brings quite some challenges. This technology can be key to help us, for instance, to address climate change and to address many of these big challenges that we've got in the world. However, we know that this can also generate an automation that could transform the world, the labor world as we know it. And within these challenges, a core one, I think, is what we have to do in order to promote a plural, inclusive artificial intelligence where the world's population is represented. We have a big challenges, for instance, in terms of gender in artificial intelligence. We know that the creators of these technologies are mostly not 50%, but even more than this, are men. And this is a challenge when we are feeding and creating technologies that are learning from those who create them and from those who use them. So how can we make this more plural and inclusive? And a core point here is that we have to promote the public-private investment in these technologies. And if we see the graph, the investment, we can see the years, the end of 2017, we see the investment by the United States, China, the European Union in dark blue, and then we have in small part Israel, Canada, and India. What we see is that this is highly concentrated, and this is not a critique to those who are investing in artificial intelligence. This is a call to order for those who are not doing this, and we have to be part of this movement, which is completely and utterly disruptive in all senses, economic, social, political, even with the political movements that we are seeing today in the world. And the one not investing in public and private sectors cannot be part of this new generation of technologies which are absolutely disruptive. Second point, let's protect without suffocating, as we do with our children. The OECD itself has to move from scheme of the protection idea faced to the risks of digital security, which is to your left, the first recommendations in 1997, through the limitation and the walls. And here we have a walled castle towards the version of the right to mitigate risks and to manage risks. This is a very important transformation, not just in an international organization, but within governments and our cultures. The more we upload our life to the digital world, including the industrial part, like the electrical grid or the financial system, of course, the risks are going to be the higher. How do we address them? We have to do this through mitigation, through the identification and management of risks, and not just we must not go for the temptation of doing the thing on the left, which concerns a lot the fact that we may lose the economic benefits of the technologies related to the openness of internet precisely. But besides, we have huge political risks, because this can lead us to closed and less democratic societies. So the topic of protection is very important for digital security. Actually, at ECT, this is called digital security and not cybersecurity, to generate this idea that we have to be open in the most protected possible way, and without and never falling in the area of limiting this benefits of openness. The third point is to better measure. I think this is a very important point. Our hypothesis, a working hypothesis within this industry, to all of those who are concerned about promotion and the acceleration of digital transformation concerns the fact that digital technologies have an impact on the increase of productivity.
And with this productivity increase, we also have economic growth. It entails the possibility of more including societies and an impact on the well-being of societies and people. And however, despite this, we are not looking at this increases in productivity that we expected. But why is this happening? In the graph, we can see in the slogan that there was a fall in the increase of productivity, and this was not what we expected. We were supposed to have, by this moment, huge returns, and we have several hypotheses. Maybe we are not looking at an increase in productivity because the impact has been less than the one we expected, or maybe because it is slower than what we thought it would be. We are still installing the digital economy. Another hypothesis, which is the one I believe in the most, is that we are not measuring it correctly because the tools that we have to measure productivity are not the tools that we used before the digital economy was established. So free things are not accounted in the GDP. And in the digital environment, there are a lot of interactions that do not necessarily translate into financial growth, but they do have productivity benefits. And we need different tools to capture all of these benefits. For example, we need to understand whatever has been digitalized in every sector and what are the flows that are not resulting in monetary transactions, but that can support other monetary transactions that may happen afterwards. And also the subject of public goods. There are some digital goods that are not measured in the GDP, but they can have an impact in the growth. And with this reflection, there was something very interesting that happened in the OECD, and we are gonna look at it in more depth because there are many countries that are already discussing this. The gender area raised their hand and they said, okay, if you are going to be measuring impact in productivity and in other activities with an impact in the economy of countries that are not translated into an economic transaction, then what are we going to measure? Because it is different from non. So we had a whole discussion regarding how we measure the GDP, not only in the digital areas, but also how we measure GDP overall, because there is no argument regarding how a digital activity that is not paid for is going to be counted in the GDP, but not a digital one. So we have to count them as well. This is revolutionizing the discussion regarding productivity beyond digital economy. And this is for a company or in an industry is this is key for us who believe in the promotion of these technologies because I'm sorry, I have to change the slide. But if we do not measure it properly, we can have a sort of resistance regarding the arguments of the transformation of digital era. So this is very important to capture. The following. Fourth point out of five, we have to take seriously the link between technology and labor inclusion, or between technology and fairness or inequality. The digital economy, we know that it is creating new jobs. We also know that it is displacing other old jobs. We know it increases the displacement between learned abilities or learned skills in the educational system and the skills that the labor system requires or the labor market, especially because jobs are changing. So we are not getting prepared for these jobs, and there is a public policy challenge regarding this subject. And we also know something more. The OECD, while working on looking for what are the um, jobs more likely to be automized and what are the jobs, well, we have so many tasks that are being automized that the job is going to stop existing. Also, we need to remember the hand of opportunities and returns, and not only in the challenges. This study identified that a very clear impact is the polarization in the labor market. And in the graph, we can see that the gray part, well, the green part are the jobs of high skills, the gray ones are medium skills, and the blue ones are low skills. And we are looking at the fact that the gray parts are disappearing and the blue ones and green ones are appearing, which are highs and lows. So on this side. So basically what we are looking at is that the medium scale jobs are being destroyed. They're getting transformed and they are becoming high skill jobs or low skill jobs. This also implies polarization in salaries or wages, which are related to these skills, and therefore a growth in social inequalities. This is not an argument to oppose the digital transformation. This just trying to say that we need public policies and we need to understand reality. So the point is understanding it, analyzing it, and having the correct public policies in order for societies to flourish in this digital environment. And the fifth and last point is that we need to really reflect upon digital governance. In Mexico and in several countries all over the world, but the Mexican case is very clear. We have a market that has attributions that are way clearer than the ones in the past. This is not on the executive side. This is happening all over the world. We are not only for the Mexicans. We are looking at the fact that governments are discussing what to do and how to rule in this digital transition within the governments because, on one hand, they want transversal coordination. We want a vision that includes all of the government and a coherent digital economy. But on the other hand, we also want appropriation. We want that the responsibles for for health public policies make it digital. They need to own the digital area in health because if they see it as something external that is not related to their daily operations, then they are going to digitalize in the most basic sense of the word. But we want them to take it as a central part of the design and operation of public policies regarding healthcare. I could mention, well, this is just an example for healthcare, but it applies to all other sectors. And in this transversality subject and appropriation, there are some governments that have moved from one government to another, and they have been going up and down, such as the case in Holland. They said they were going to control all of this centrally. They created an agency, then they moved it back to the bodies, and now they had a central coordination, and now it's back again with the bodies. So this is a matter that hasn't been solved in the world, and we really need to reflect upon it and not just take it as a final decision. It needs to be adaptable because we are not really certain about how the digital subject is going to evolve within governments and public policies. However, what we do know is that we need clarity at all times. The industry and societies must know who is in charge of what, and that needs to be an office with someone in charge, not different places with different managers, because then we will get back to this world of non-clarity, and this is not helpful for investments and good public policies. We know we need appropriation because we need the digital to be in the heart of public policies, at the core of every public policy of the sector, and we need certain coordination and coherence within governments. And since this is not over, we are still in the middle of a transformation process, which is a huge revolution of the economy and societies. We need to be flexible, we need to be adaptable, and we need to stay reflecting upon these subjects. It needs to be a conscious discussion and an open discussion, not just having offices and having them moved over time. And these are my 5 points. So that's all. And I am willing to have any kind of discussion or questions or whatever. Thank you.